right, we will go ahead and get started. Hopefully some other friends will join us as we continue, but obviously we want to value your time and give you as much time to talk amongst yourselves as possible. Into the chat, I have a link for you for our slide deck, as well as for the attendance. Make sure that you're logging that, and we will get started. For our meeting here today, we have a couple different areas. The first of which is we're going to talk about some student-focused coaching with a big focus on collaborator and the collaboration that happens amongst our coaches. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Google certified coaching platform, if that's something that you might be interested in. We're hoping to have a lot of time for networking, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. All right, so you are all welcome. Thank you for joining us today. The meeting today is just the two of us. You have Jen and you have myself, and we are very happy to be with you again on very cold, soon to be snowy. That everybody is just buzzing in our area like, oh, we're getting snow tonight. It's happening in the magic window. So yeah, we're really happy that you're here with us. If you have not seen it yet, we have our online coaching hub. This is the place where you can find all kinds of good stuff. This is our website. If you've never been there before, make sure that you check that out in our slide deck. There are just a bunch of wonderful things. For our calendar, we have done September, we have done November. This is January 18th, and we're working on it. And then we have one more for this year, so it's a slight change from years past. We will meet in March, and then we'll just look to the discussion boards for any other questions or conversation points that people may have from March on. Okay, so the next time we will see you will be March 21st. As a part of that, don't forget we have our online Google group. This is the place that you can connect, especially in between meetings, so you don't have to wait for the next meeting to happen. You can just jump on there and email everyone else, your questions or collaboration opportunities. Those are all there waiting for you. Okay, also as a part of it, we use a bunch of wonderful gym night texts. And if you don't have those, by all means, please feel free to let us know. We'll get those out to you. Those of you who have communicated that to us in the past, we think we have everybody now. So if that's not the case, then please let us know and we'll make sure that you get those. Okay, other available coursework that we want you to know from the Department of Education and Workforce. They have some really wonderful courses. We looked into those in the past as well, so I won't take the time to do that. And then our team here at SST9 and the Stark ESC, we put together some courses for you as well, mainly focused around the impact cycle and better conversations with Gym Night. So please feel free to check those out as well. All right, Jen. It's all on you. It's all student-focused coaching with that collaborator piece.
All right.
I'll let you take it. Oh, and I'll just advance the slide.
All kinds of goodies on our table here today. So we're just going to jump real briefly into our student-focused coaching text, and hopefully, again, like Matt said, hopefully you've also received these texts and text if you requested that from us. So again, if you haven't, please let us know, but we think we've got everybody taken care of there as well. But we're really moving this month into the role of a student-focused coach as collaborator. And I think this is the team favorite, right? I think it's why a lot of us have ended up in the roles that we're in, because we just not only have interest and expertise in a certain area, whether that's literacy or technology or math or whatever that is, but just also a real ability to build relationships with people and to combine those things to really, really be true problem solvers and thought partners. So as we move ahead, this is going to look a little bit different today because this is so familiar to us. I'm going to cover just some big ideas of the text, and then we're just going to really talk about the human element of it. And I'm going to share a couple additional resources that I think really support the conversation that we have within the text. So when you're thinking about the concept of student-focused coaching and the role of a coach as a collaborative problem solver, what we want to really be cognizant of is that engaging in this role is really the most effective and powerful way to spend your time as a coach. And I think We are in a really unique position in Ohio because the collaborative problem solving process really does align with a lot of what we do in our shared leadership structures. So what we're working through at BLT, what we're working through at TBT, and a lot of you have district level roles as well. So maybe part of your DLT process. So it really is reflective of that, but really honoring the individual human element of the process. So as you engage in this cycle, it's actually quite simple. And we started to talk about this last May as a group, actually. But this process is where you're sitting down, oftentimes with individual teachers, and you're identifying the problem to be solved. You're developing a solution, implementing that solution, and then evaluating the effectiveness of the implemented solution. Nice and easy, right? Simple. Simple.
No big deal.
No big deal, right? I love how they just list things out like, oh, yeah, that's how it works, right? But we know there's so much more to this process, and that's what we're going to give ourselves a few minutes here to kind of reflect on. So when implemented correctly, collaborative problem solving really does lay a foundation for a trusting, respectful, professional relationship between the coach and teacher colleagues, which has been identified from research in education, business psychology, philosophy of science, and cultural anthropology is essential for effective coaching outcomes. So this goes back to our work with Jim Knight, and I thought it was a really important intersection to make because this is where really the kind of the core of the research around coaching is taking place. Those of us, and I'm seeing my friends that are on the call today, I think this is a great connecting point for us. This is where we're really making some efforts with the science of reading as well. And this is where it's like we know things that we didn't know before because we really are including research from all of these other fields. So we are starting to talk about what it looks like to have business coaches and life coaches and all of these other spaces and finding those catalysts for true change. Not only in effectiveness of student outcomes or patient outcomes or whatever that looks like, but really in making sure that it's a true system of support for all the leaders within that. So that's exciting, I think, as we look ahead to the future of coaching. So what I'm going to stop and pause and talk about, because I think the text, again, covers this really well. It covers the data side really well. It covers the process side really well. But there are a lot of barriers that can come up in the collaborative problem solving process. And one of them happens when we try to solve problems too quickly. And we try to kind of just really quick get to problem. What's that problem? We identify a problem for the sake of identifying a problem, which may not even accurately be the problem that needs to be solved at times, right? And then we want to jump towards solution because a lot of us are helpers in the best way. Our intentions are pure in there and we want to provide that support. So what I want to spend a few minutes just reflecting on again is some ways that we can be proactive. And again, those of us in our literacy training, we talk Anita Archer, I say if you expect it, pre-correct it. So if we're really aware of these things going into a problem solving process, you know, again, it's that human capital element that I think can be really protective of the relationships that we have between coaches and coachees. So really quick, this is going to be a little different activity because we're a small group. So you can throw this in the chat if you'd like, or we can just unmute and talk about it. But what emotions come up for you when you feel misunderstood? And this is something that we encounter as a barrier in the collaborative problem solving process quite frequently. So let's think about what comes up for you when you feel misunderstood.
Especially because it's such a small group. If you just want to unmute and
Yeah, that works.
voice it, that would be wonderful. That way we don't have to hear our own voices. Usually when I feel misunderstood, I feel very frustrated.
Frustrated.
That I think is the number one word that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
I would agree. I also feel frustrated. That's the first thing that comes to my mind too.
Thank you, Christine. So I don't know how to put it into words necessarily, but it's like, it's a little bit beyond frustration, even where you're like, I've said the thing as clearly as I can. I don't know what else I have to say or how I can word this in order to get you to understand that thing too. And that is very frustrating. Like it's beyond frustrating, whatever that word is, that's beyond frustrating.
Like
That's
angst almost, I don't know.
yes. I saw in the chat too, Lynn mentioned that she felt like defensive too.
Yeah, defensive. And I think so what comes to mind for me too, and again, Lynn, were you going to say something? I'm sorry. Okay. That's okay, Amanda. You're good. No problem. We understand. We all do this all the time. Totally get it. I think, and again, this is back to, I think we've touched this in several other groups, that nervous system regulation, right? You kind of, you go into like, oh, I have to survive in this space. And all those responses look different for us, right? It might be so fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all of these things that come up. So, that fight might be defensive. I definitely am a freezer. When I feel misunderstood, I am definitely the one that will shut down. And I'm like, I don't want to participate in this anymore. So again, kind of having a read on people and start to kind of have some tools in your toolbox for when that happens is important. But I think the conversation we want to have today is kind of how do we make sure that the environment feels safe from the beginning, and how do we ask questions and really have conversations in a way that prevents that from happening to begin with.
See, I think the main thing what
I
my
didn't
thoughts
see
were
it.
too,
Perfect.
where she basically said like, then she felt the need to like over clarify. And so that gets me in trouble where like, then it almost seems like I'm talking down. And I'm like, no. Like I don't mean it to come off that way. I just like, I don't know how else to explain this other than dialing it way back, especially for technology things, where I feel the need to like dial back to the very beginning and then build my way back up to try and get people to come along. But just interesting how different groups or different conversations can change those feelings of being misunderstood too.
Yeah, and I think we tend to use that as some type of assessment of the current environment. But again, when that nervous system is triggered, we go back to how we responded to things like this when we were a child. It's not necessarily a part of the current context. And these are things as coaches that we really have to build our skill set around, and understanding not only how we react, but how the people we're engaging with interact. So I found this quote, and I always think we do a really good job, especially as primary teachers, of giving kids words when they're in situations, and we don't honor that with each other as we're learning new things and how to navigate new situations. So I found this quote and I was like, I really love this. And it's kind of wordy, but at the same time, it's a great way in that moment to kind of professionally express how you're feeling in a way that I think just really kind of honors where everybody in the space is. And it's this: I know that you believe that you understand what you think I said, but I'm not sure you realize that what you heard is not what I meant. So I'll give you a minute to kind of read that and think about it for a second. So I'm not sure this takes a level of vulnerability and bravery, I think, to be able to say something like this. And I myself am working on a more succinct way to have these words. I think I need like a primary teacher version of this that I can pull out in a conversation, because I'd never be able to do it. But I don't know, maybe a little sticker for my laptop or something might be the way to like pull it up for right now. But I think it's so powerful when you can put language to that feeling that we talked about earlier. And again, it honors everybody's pure intentions of, we just want to help, right? We ultimately want to help kids, but we just really want to help each other navigate these different and difficult circumstances that we're often faced with. But I don't know, I just really loved this, and it put some language to some of those feelings we were talking about earlier. I'm taking a little bit different direction, because again, I think the chapters in the book cover this very clearly and very succinctly, but I wanted to share with you, if you haven't seen or had any access to the coaching habit, and the advice trap. I had a little bit of issue with Google earlier, so I wanted to drop these links in the slideshow for you. And I can do that later as soon as my issue is remedied, which I think Matt helped me with right before the meeting, of course. So I should be good to go. But if you haven't seen these books, they're really, really straightforward, and really help develop your skills around asking questions, which I think is such a critical part of this. And we could have done a whole hour on this today, to be honest, to go along with this role of the collaborative problem solver. But here are just a couple of excerpts that I want to share with you based on this work. And it's just this concept of, look, I'm trying to help. I'm feeling the pressure of time. As a coach, right, I've got an answer that's showing up in my head right away. And I think the best way of being helpful is to tell you the solution that I've come up with in my head. And it might be, right, as coaches, that's what we're kind of trained to do. Okay, like we've come in and we've got your back and, we've got this expertise and this advice and yes, like we're going to do this together. And again, you might have that solution, but sometimes sharing that solution initially and right away may not be the most powerful partnership move that we could make. Okay, so it might be again that you have that solution, but maybe revealing that not quite yet, slowing it down and staying curious a little bit longer can be that catalyst to launching into a full successful collaborative problem solving process or impact cycle if we're going back to using our Gemini language. So what Michael calls this in his text is the advice monster. And it's kind of a funny way of talking about it, but I think, and again, it's kind of funny to me that we have the group of people that we have today because we all have experience as coaches in different settings, right? And we've all coached in multiple settings, right? From individual classroom to building level to district level to working with grants. We all just have this great advice, and we are all very, very professionally developed humans, okay? Which really can fuel that advice monster because people have expectations like, okay, you have the training, you have the answers, help me know what to do. And we're kind of called in these spaces, expected to kind of really fast forward through this problem solving process. And I love the way Michael says this because we have to make sure that we have control of the advice monster, especially when other people are just constantly feeding that concept. So the advice monster is kind of this metaphor, and it's another way at really coming at some of that great research around armored leadership, which we haven't really taken too many steps into in this network, but I think it would be great too. That armored leadership versus daring leadership. So that armored leadership states is, this is what I'm supposed to do, right? This is what people expect me to do, and this is what I'm trained to do. Versus that daring leadership side of, you know what? Maybe that's just not really the right thing right now. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay to be kind of brave and daring and to kind of step out of what I think the system's expecting me to do here. But we have to be really, really aware as coaches and as individuals that when we're in advice giving mode, we're protected. We have status, we have authority, we have control, and all of those things are characteristics of armored leadership. And I think that we can all see different spaces that shows up, not just in our professional lives, but our personal lives, right? We all know that person we can get on the phone with who's going to tell us exactly what they think that we should do. And oftentimes, whether we want it or not, whether we're seeking that or not. But that advice monster can show up in lots of ways. It shows up very generationally, to be totally transparent. That's where we see the advice monster come out.
Emphasis on the word parent.
Parent, I know, parent, exactly, right? I'm making that transition right now with kids who are 14 and 15, and I really have kind of stepped more into the I can't play the game for them. I am in coaching mode. They talk to me about how they're handling things, or maybe what should I say tomorrow, or what do I wish I would have said today? And that's hard for me because they used to come to me and say, I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. And that's not the phase of life that we still have those moments, but for the majority of the time, I got to tame that advice monster. And again, from the parenting perspective, you know, we all have it in our professional life, but in the personal life, there are spaces where we have people that kind of do it's done to us, right? Or, you know, depending on your perspective, done for us, right? But there are also spaces that we show up that way. And so I think taming that advice monster is a really powerful way to be able to show people that we're with them and we're for them. So just an added layer of consideration as we look at the role of the collaborative problem solver. I added a podcast for you because I know we're all busy and I know, but sometimes when you're in the car or you're like just reorganizing something in school or moving furniture around or something, it's nice to have something playing in the background. This is a podcast with Brene Brown and the author of The Advice Trap and the Coaching Habit. So they kind of have a conversation similar to what we just had. And so you kind of get the lens of, you know, the coaching questions and being really curious and courageous as a coach with Brene Brown's perspective on courage and vulnerability and leadership. So it's kind of a neat conversation to listen to if you have some time. All right. So on to the Google certified coaching piece.
All right. So we were talking about parenthood and being a part of all that. I'm very much into, have always been really into Sesame Street and into the Muppets. And as I was putting slides together, the other day, I was like, hey, this is perfect for this trend that they were using on the show in the past few years. I wonder what if. Let's try it. So we won't play it today just for time's sake, but there's a really lovely song. And so there are little beats throughout every episode where, you know, some kind of problem will happen and then the characters will get together and talk and they'll say, well, I wonder, what if we did, well, let's try it. And so I thought we might do that a little bit. Here today with the Google Certified Coach program. We've had some people in the past ask for more from this. And so I thought we might kind of dig in a little bit to this different platform. So you can see Issa Rae up in the top corner there. She's helping us through. This is the I wonder phase. I wonder what this Google Certified Coach thing is all about. A part of the misconception in my mind is when you see the name Google in front of you, you're like, oh, this is just for tech coaches, or this is only for people who are really tech savvy. And that's kind of a misnomer here. Really, it is about the instructional coaching model. For this program, they use the 5-step coaching model, and you can, we'll dig into that here in just a little bit. But it's really just kind of the idea that like we're using the tools on this platform, you know, that is Google, but we're using the tools in a collaborative way to help our teachers that we're working with. So that's really all it is. It's not that you have to be a super expert or, you know, some kind of tech wizard when it comes to all of these things. It's really just about finding the right tool to help you with whatever the actual coaching process might be to support your teacher. So what if we were to actually dig into this? What does that look like? There are several different pieces to the actual curriculum itself, but there are 4 steps into becoming a Google certified coach. I should have said at the front, like, I am a Google certified coach. I went through all the training and did all this. So if you have questions on it or you're trying to do it all on your own, I'm more than happy to help you or to advise on those things too. But there are 4 different pieces and parts. So first is to complete the coach's curriculum. There are little mini modules and lessons, and it is really well done. We're going to dig into that in the next section. Spoiler alert. We're going to dig into that in the next section too. And once you're done with that curriculum, then you take the coach's skills assessment, where they're literally walking through the pieces and parts that you learned about in that curriculum. They're connecting it to you know, some of the tools that are available, and it is very much an assessment. There are questions, you provide answers. Most of them are multiple choice, I would say. Some of them are like drag and drops. So like are trying to reorder things based on how they actually appear. But it is very much an assessment. You get your score, and if you have that passing score, then you can move on to the next section. If not, there are little like mini checks, mini learning checks throughout all the modules, so you can always dive back in. It's really an open book exam too. They don't really tell you that, they don't publicize that, but whenever I take these, I always have one computer on the side and then the computer that I'm taking my assessment on, because you're never going to be without your computer anyway. So why not use it to to help you during these assessments? So by all means, use that as your resource. It's not against the rules or any ethics code. Think of that more of like an open book assessment. Okay, the other piece of this is that they want you to go through the level 1 and level 2 Google certified teacher pieces as well. So that's the fundamentals course and the advanced course. If you have been using Google at all in the last year, you can complete and pass that fundamentals course with no trouble whatsoever. It's very, very basic stuff. There's an assessment at the end that is all multiple choice. It is very simple. If you're a Google user, you will be just fine. The advanced course, also not terribly difficult. It's basically a little bit more of like showing the relationship of the programs and how they work together. So like you're not really trying to create things from scratch, or it's not going to be something that's like a super niche question, which like only the super nerds are going to know. So like I always feel like advanced seems like a misnomer there as well, where, if you've been using Google for a couple years, you will have no trouble passing that advanced course. So they want you to get that certification as well. And then when you're done with 1 and 2, and you've passed your coach's skills assessment, then you can move into the portfolio submission area, where basically they want a short video of you either coaching someone or just like in your natural environment, for lack of a better word. You can talk about the different things that you're doing with your coaches, or what that looks like for you, or how you can apply the things that you've learned in that coach's curriculum to your actual day-to-day, which I think is really great. You'll also have to show artifacts so that you're actually using the coach's curriculum in your everyday work. And then you want a letter from an administrator as like a reference point for you. And basically that you're using that 5-step coaching model. So there are little tweaks to each of these, I would say. The thing that I ran into, I already had my level 1, I had my level 2, and I did the coach's curriculum and I passed my exams. Like, this is great, but I never actually implemented that 5-step plan. I didn't have the artifacts that I needed to then submit for my portfolio. So what I did was I did all those other ones, and then I took a pretty sizable chunk of time to complete and to build up my portfolio, and then I turned it in, which is totally fine. So it's not like because you passed that skills assessment that like you have a ticking time clock and you have to turn that application or turn your portfolio in. It's not like that at all. Once you passed it once, you passed it forever. So build up that portfolio and send it when you are perfectly comfortable. Okay, so let's try. The module that I want to check out here today is called Our Theory of Change. This is a part of the very first block of lessons. And so I thought we might check that out here today. So if you click that link chain, that's going to jump you through. I'm going to go to like the big page first. Basically, if you've never been here before, you're going to want to make sure that you're signing in. So you'll click Get Started here to become a Google Certified Coach. And then that is going to take you to the actual curriculum page, which looks something very similar to this. So make sure that you're logged in on that school account. It basically tracks your progress, and I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a moment too. But if you don't log in, then it is basically not tracking you through the curriculum. So my screen is going to look a little bit different than yours unless you are also a Google Certified Coach. You'll notice that I have this blue check mark here that says that I've passed this already. And as you make your way down, you'll see all those other little blue check marks. That means that I have completed those modules. Yours will probably be open circles, And as you make your way through, you'll see those little blue check marks. What's really nice is they keep adding and they keep cultivating and doing different things here. So you'll notice that there's even a book study that's a part of this. It's optional right now, but if you wanted to, you can dive into any one of these and follow along with that book study. So the piece that I thought we would check out here today was called Our Theory of Change. So if you want to follow along with me, like I said, log in. And then make your way down here to step 2. The first one is like, we're really happy you're here. This is what it looks like. Da, 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 da. It takes 5 minutes. It's very brief. We're not going to waste our time on that. So I'm going to jump around a little bit to go to Our Theory of Change. Okay, you'll notice it's popping up our material. And basically, this is like an online course. So they say that it takes 15 minutes. We're going to do it at about 5 because it's really, at your own pace, and they always plan for more. But as you make your way down, you can read through the different pieces and parts, and ultimately it gets into the meat and potatoes of this course. So the idea here is that every district is different, every building is different, every coach is different, and that's great. So the material that they're using for the course, they want you to take it and transform it and use it for your individual setting. So, no matter what that may look like, they just want to maximize your value and your output. So that's really that the ripple effect that they are referencing here. So to transform the student learning opportunities, we need to also transform teacher practice. You'll notice this little blue blinky guy. When we click on that, then it expands and it continues this learning. So to transform teacher practice, we need to transform coaching practice. This all makes sense. To transform coaching practice, we need to transform coaching programs. And that was really the genesis of creating this course. Okay, so that ripple effect helps schools and districts instill different innovative practices across all classrooms. And the theory of change here is focused on all classrooms, truly achieving that system-wide transformation, not in the siloed bright spots. So the thing that I'm taking away as the student in this class is that, yes, it's Google. We think that that means that it's technology. It's really not. We think that it may be something when really this is all very much rooted in research. And you're going to see names of people that we have talked about here within our own courses. So for me, this was like a really nice justification for the things that we are doing in our area, not just these meetings, but the things that we have going on, which is really cool. So I see some more blinkies. I'm going to click on those. Our early adopters. The top 16% are the innovators and early adopters. In a school, these are the teachers who seek out innovative teaching strategies and adapt to them quickly. So I had a principal one time, I always called those the first penguins. They're the ones that are jumping off the iceberg, no matter what, maybe lingering underneath the water, they're jumping in, no problem. Okay, we also have an early majority. So the next 34% are early majority. They are the set of teachers who, with support, are willing to try out these new novel concepts. So, again, as the student here, I'm already adding this up to see that basically, I have a huge swell of support in my district or with the teachers that I'm working for. For the most part, I'm not going to hit too much resistance as I'm trying to do these, innovative coaching practices. And then that last one, we have our elite majority and what they call laggards. It said, however, the final 50%, that late adopters or laggards are quite resistant to shifting the practice. And so as we look at, introducing one-to-one technology to a school or reframing a curriculum, they may not always go along with us in that regard too. So again, we are trying to hit all educators, not just this early adopters group or the early majority group. And when we're talking innovation, what does that really mean? This is one of my favorite animations because it's a little flippy card. It makes me feel like I have the baseball cards back in the day. And so when they're talking about innovation, we're really trying to define this as that transformative instruction piece where we're creating better and more impactful learning opportunities for students. So we're taking those most powerful tools and we're leveraging them in our favor. And that is basically their own way of saying, you're using Google tools to help make this stuff possible. And then is the Google certified program about technology coaching or instructional coaching? This to me is like one of the most important things to click on. And it's both, right? It's showing that relationship between the amazing things that are happening in the classroom and the tools that make those things possible. So as we see our students using more technology, as more technology continues to be developed, like AI that we've spoken of here in the past as well, a lot is changing and a lot is being developed, and it's using all of those tools alongside the things that we know already and the research and these pedagogies and whatnot to create a really impactful coaching relationship. So again, for the sake of time, I'm going to jump through here a little bit, but this is how they view how coaching shifts our teacher practice. And again, there's some more research here if you would like to check that out. But it says research has proven that the effectiveness of PD increases most when paired with follow-up support throughout ongoing coaching. So not just here's this thing on the PD day, ta-da, we're done. It's that follow-up piece and actually making it happen. So how does the certified coaching program align with this? It equips the coaches with the digital skills to make it happen, with the coaching skills to make it possible, with a really wonderful curriculum, and also the frameworks to support you as you are helping your teachers. Okay, so this theory of change is put into practice. They basically put this through a pilot. I think this started in like 2019, and then we've obviously been I've been a part of the program for a couple of years now. But this is not just a locked in time curriculum. Like I said, they are continuing to innovate and to add things and to change things and to make sure that this is a really robust and like a live group of people. So that was the first module. Now we come down to this assessment here. So it says make it stick. Now let's do a quick recap to make sure that you got all the important beats of the lesson. This is a really great example of what that assessment at the end is going to look like too, where I can click and drag these into the order that is appropriate. So it says, please sort the following elements to show how one impacts the other in the certified coach program theory of change. So just so you can see, let's say that I wanted it to be in this. When you hit submit, it's okay, because obviously we are all growing and we are all learning. This isn't like punitive in any way. It says, hey, not quite, please try that again. And then it lets us know that we have two in the right place there. So I might be able to flip these up and move that one back and hit submit. Now it says, good job. It let us know that those are in the right spot. And then we get a little true or false. And when we submit that, that basically will get that little blue check mark that we can then move on to our next lesson. Okay, at any point in time, you can always go back to that path outline too by clicking on that button, and it will jump us back to this screen where then we can kind of see and track our progress. So there's a lot to love here. We are just barely scratching the surface in that introduction piece. There's the challenge-based coaching model, building a strong coaching team and culture. There's cultivating effective coach and teacher relationships, refining strategies for impactful coaching, leveling up your coaching toolkit, celebrating and advancing success, and then ultimately you have that assessment. But what I really like about this is as you're traveling through the curriculum, they are giving you the tools that you can then use for your coaching. So it's not just like, it would be really nice if you had a Google Doc and it said this, this, and this. Like they're actually providing those materials for you that then you can transform and put your own school colors on and your name and all these other pieces. But it's a really well-baked item where like you have everything that you need and all the support that you need as well. So like I said, I think there's a lot to love as a part of that curriculum. If that's something that you're interested in, we can continue to do these, whether that's during these meetings, or we can kind of get together and go through the coursework together. But I think it's really, really neat, and just like to me shows that connection between curriculum and technology and how they're not two separate silos, that you really need to have those two in alignment and be working together in order to have success for your kids.
Yeah.
So lots of good stuff to like.
That's really good.
Yeah. All right. So networking time. What I think we're going to do here for today is because we have a smaller group, we're probably just going to put you 5 into your own room. That way you can chat on your own, and then we'll bring you back. But before I do, we have opened up our call for proposals for the High Impact Conference. We would love to have sessions about coaching or for coaches. So as a part of your prompts, if you need them, prompt 6 is specifically for that. So what is a session that you could develop or have developed that might play really well there at the High Impact Conference for educators? Is there something that you could share or some kind of idea that you could put forth that would benefit people in that role? I personally would love to have that as a part of our conference. And I know that like one of the biggest questions we get every year is like, I wish there were more sessions for science, or I wish there's more sessions on this. So do we. We need people to actually do those, but yeah, we would love that too. So this is my ask to all of you. We would love to have you do that as well. So if you would like, we can keep things rolling. Like, I don't know what your schedules look like or whatnot, but if that was a really important conversation that needed to happen, we can like formally wrap up what we need to do. And then I can keep things rolling if you all would like to continue your conversation. Like, so there are a few of us here in the meeting. So if that's something you'd be interested in, just pop that into the chat too. And we can kind of keep going. I know we're coming to time here. So go ahead, Lynn.
We were just starting a conversation that I kind of asked, maybe it's too big of a question to even continue on. And I know I have to go here for another meeting at 12, but could we talk about it in another meeting or so? And that is, how do you use data to prove coaching works? And to me, there's not, you can't exactly show cause effect. You can certainly show correlated data. And you can certainly do a lot of qualitative data, but I at least have, I just think coaches' impact is very great. And just saying test scores, that's one, absolutely. We all hope those improve, but that's only one space, and we can't exactly say it's cause effect. Does that make sense? So I struggle with finding that data, and that's what we were in the middle of a conversation. Carrie and Kelly were talking about what they look at, that's
Hey,
a question I hope we can talk about.
Could you use adult implementation data and survey the teachers on, have I improved a strategy or whatever the specific goals are for your building after working with?
Yes, we do that, and we have done a lot of adult implementation. And so we have a lot of great qualitative that way, and you can take that qualitative data and make it quantitative.
Right. You just want a stronger correlation.
I feel as if people want that to prove coaching works.
Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. I took a note too, that, we can look at opportunities to blow that out into a larger section, or even just provide specific time where that's the only thing that our groups are talking about. So I made a note, and we'll definitely make that happen for you in the future. Okay, but this is the perfect thing too, where like, you don't have to wait for us. Like, this is a wonderful thing to put onto that discussion board. It's going to go to everybody's email who is a part of our group. So, obviously you can send that through there and then get that conversation started. So don't feel like you have to wait for us, but we can absolutely bring that up for our next meetings. Okay, thank you both for sharing. Thank you everybody for jumping into to that breakout to continue. All right, so as we're wrapping things up, we just really appreciate you being a part of our conversation today. Before the meeting started, we were talking about just like, we feel like the temperature is really high for our educators right now. So for you to be able to carve out this time with us means the world to us. We really appreciate that. So if you have not done so already, into the chat, I put the slides in attendance one more time. So make sure that you are completing that. We would really love for you to do the feedback form as well. Talk a little bit about the things that we covered today. If the we know that we have another student-focused coaching plan for our next meeting in March. But if you want to continue the conversation or see more things with like the Google stuff, we can make that happen. If you want that to be something separate, let us know that too. But yeah, we would love to have your feedback on that. And other than that, we just hope that you have a great rest of your day and rest of your week. And we know that January is always kind of weird anyway, with snow days and PD days and every other kind of day that you can think of. So hopefully you find some time to check in with yourself and reflect. And we really appreciate you being here. All right. Thank you so much.
Take care.